Is your farm succeeding, or is it quietly failing without you actually noticing? Most farmers believe that success in poultry farming is about having big and thousands of numbers of birds, or having huge operations. In contrast to that, after my personal experience with actually broilers and layers, I view success in a very different way. To me, success in poultry farming is about you hitting specific biological benchmarks that actually most farmers do not even track. There are two critical numbers that separate winning farms from failing ones. Miss these numbers and you could be losing money even with healthy looking birds. Hit them consistently and you will know you are succeeding, sometimes within just 4 weeks. I'm going to show you what exactly these numbers are, so that at the end of the day you will have a checklist that you will use to measure your farm's success. And you dwell with this guesswork. Let's start with the broilers. When it comes to broilers, if you're raising broiler chickens, success is actually about two important factors, and that is about speed and efficiency. From day one, your job is to feed, vaccinate, and care for these chickens so they grow fast and stay healthy. A good commercial broiler grows from about 40 grams at hatch to between 1.5 and 1.8 kilograms at week 4. And by week 6, that will be like 2.5 kilograms. So if you're hitting around 1.5 kilograms in 4 months or sooner, you are doing exceptionally well. And yes, keeping mortality low is very crucial, ideally below 5%. If almost all your chicks make it to market age without serious illnesses, that's poultry success right there. If you've been following on my channel, I started with 100 broilers, and this was a challenge. My subscriber challenged me to raise these 100 broilers, and there was, I think I lost like 2 chicks, and it was my very first time. So when I succeeded, actually most of you congratulated me, but even myself I was so proud because I was able to raise these chickens to between 1.5 to 1.8 kilograms within 4 weeks. And to me, that's what actually success is about when it comes to poultry farming. If you're able to hit those benchmarks, those biological benchmarks. There is also one thing that I want to tell broiler farmers. When you're doing broiler farming, make sure your aim is not actually the weeks, that week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, or week 6. It shouldn't be about weeks. It should actually be about weight. Your target goal, or your goal should be about your chickens achieving that particular weight within the smallest amount of time possible, because that's exactly what determines success. Broiler farming is about continuity. The profit margin is small, but it becomes more and more if you're doing lots of batches, maybe 5 batches within a year. Okay, let's switch to layers, the birds that I'm currently working with, and of course I share the good news to you that they started laying. So how do you determine success? Even before I tell you those 2 important factors that actually determine the success, or when it comes to layers, one of you was like, now that your birds have started laying, you should now scale up and maybe add on the number. What does that tell you? For layer farmers, success also comes down to 2 key factors, that is early laying and high egg output. A healthy commercial layer pullet usually starts laying at around 4.5 to 5 months. If your hens start laying by 5 months or earlier, that's a very good sign, but actually it doesn't stop at just the first egg. Production should ramp up quickly with peak performance hitting around 80% lay rate. So someone will be like, what is your rate now? We'll come back to that later. That means if you have, let's say, 100 hens, you should be collecting about 80 eggs a day during peak production. That consistency is what drives profitability. So bottom line is, if your pellets have started laying eggs on time, and the production or the egg count continues to climb up the peak level, like 80%, that in itself is what we call success when it comes to poultry farming. You know, you do not have to wait until you lay off your birds after maybe 2 years. For example, if your flock of 100 hens starts laying around 5 months and you're hitting that 8% mark in a few weeks, you are not just on track, you are thriving. That means there are some few factors that you have to put in consideration to make sure when these birds start laying, if you see the first egg actually, you have to make sure you're feeding these birds on time. Timing is very key when it comes to these layers. Actually, after you seeing the first egg, make sure you are giving them feeds at the same time. If in the morning, if you're waking up, let's say at 5, maintain that over and over again. And then in the evening, like that, or in the afternoon. The other thing is about lighting program. You have to make sure that the lighting program, because they require between 14 to 16 hours of light for them to be able to form that egg, so that they can deliver that egg later on. So if you do not take care, or if you do not maintain the lighting program, then you may not be able to achieve the peak production of your layers. The other thing is about the feeds. Make sure you are following the feeding chart very well. Some people actually, when they see the first egg, they quickly switch to layers feed. Yet they're supposed to maintain the pre-layer feeds until they realize a certain percentage, let's say 45%, then they will have to switch. The other thing that most farmers actually worry about is, for example, my layers here, when they started laying, the eggs were not uniform. Some were small, some were bigger. So my buyers were complaining. But you know, sometimes you can explain, sometimes you do not need to explain. So one of my buyers was like, maybe you give them a booster. I told her, I know this, I'm supposed to give them a booster, but we have to follow certain protocol. We don't just come out of the blue and we start giving our chickens boosters because we want to increase the size of the egg. You see such things. So you must be very intentional with whatever you're doing to these layers when they start laying. You know, the other thing is keeping up with the vaccinations, the Newcastle and the IB. You know, give them fresh water, change the water, give them fresh water, so that, because I think 80% of the egg is made up of water. So they need to drink a lot of water for them to be able to produce very good eggs for you. All right. So now, obviously, you have grown your broilers to market weight, and you have collected this batch of eggs. Now the big question is, where are you going to sell your products? That's a very big question that each one of you who wants to be successful should be asking themselves. You know, marketing is a huge problem that most farmers struggle with, but it's not just about the farmers. Everyone who has something to sell, they actually have to find market for their product. So when it comes to marketing, it's a whole different ball game, my dear. But luckily for us, I did an entire video about the marketing strategies of your chicken products.